Welcome to the 90s-Kid Library Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Goodman. I'm a professor, collector, and librarian of a pretty extensive home library of 90s media. I started this podcast to learn more about my favorite books, movies, and TV shows from this era, and we have a super special episode today. The main cast of the classic Goosebumps episode, The Blob That Ate Everyone, is here to discuss their memories of filming this very, very fun episode. So please welcome Gabrielle Boni, Scott Pietrangelo, and Bradie Whetham. I'd like to start off our little reunion here by describing how I believe this is destiny that brought us together, okay? So, and you can feel free to tease me after this if you like. But basically what happened was earlier this year, I made a post on Instagram about the Blob That Ate Everyone. And Scott, you left a comment on that. And
Oh, I did I?
You did, yeah. You commented and you said like, oh, I was in that episode. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing.
Hilarious.
That's right. That is you. So I followed you. It just blew my mind. And then a few months later, I get a message from Bradie. And Bradie, we chat for a little bit. And then you mentioned, hey, I was in the episode The Blob That Ate Everyone. And again, mind blown. This is crazy that I just started up conversations with two people from the same episode. So I just knew I had to use this opportunity to get you guys together and have a reunion of sorts. But then, of course, there was still somebody missing. And I didn't get a random message from Gabrielle, which makes sense.
No, you're not going to. I'm not on Instagram.
Yep,
I'm not
see?
on.
There you go. And the odds of it happening 3 times would be astronomical. But Bradie, you were able to get in touch with her and invite her. So to me, this is like just a perfect alignment of all these lucky circumstances that brought us together. And it just brings me so much joy to see all of you together. When's the last time you all saw each other?
Literally our last day of shooting.
Yeah, except not Bradie. So me and Bradie ended up working together on Wind at My Back.
Oh,
And it was
cool.
like
Yeah.
a summer thing. And so I don't even remember how old I was, Bradie. How old were you?
On Wind at My Back, so I was on set with Wind for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years or so. So I think probably you would have been in between 13 and 15.
Right, I came in right at the very end.
Yeah,
So I
right
think
at the end.
15, 16 sounds about right.
Yeah.
And I think that was the last time I saw you.
Yeah. Outside of like we have contact on social media a little bit
Yeah.
over the years, but otherwise, yeah, I think pretty much the last time all of us had a conversation with each other has to be 20 to 30 years ago.
Oh, that's
That's
amazing.
about right.
That's amazing. So yeah, and Scott, you were saying you haven't really seen either of the other two actors here since that day on set, the last day of filming.
No, this is it. I feel like there was a message exchange between me and Gabby at one point, like maybe 10 or 15
Maybe.
years ago somewhere. But aside from that, no,
Possibly.
this is cool. This is wild.
Well, I promise not to bully anybody throughout this podcast. I promise. I know that was my character, and that's probably anybody watching thinks that I'm going to roast everyone. That's not me.
Well, you've got the leather jacket. I was slightly intimidated when I came in.
Because like, not just your character, you were a little bit of a holy terror, Bradie, on Goosebumps.
Well,
You
we'll
were
save that for
just,
the next podcast, the one-on-one. We'll not talk about some of that stuff. But yeah, no, I was a terror for sure.
you just had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But then on Wind at My Back, you were delightful.
Well, at that point, I was kind of a little hippie. Like by the time I got the Wind at My Back, I had mellowed out a bit. But yeah, on Goosebumps, I don't know. I would assume that the consensus was probably everyone's like, this kid's insane.
You, like I said, you just had a lot of energy.
Well, Scott, what did you say?
Oh, I just remember we talked about Star Wars a lot. So like you were in my good books.
I will still talk about Star Wars if you want to just take this whole podcast into a Star
It's
Wars
gonna
talk.
be a Star
What
Wars
do you think
podcast
about
suddenly.
Disney buying Star?
Many conversations
God.
to be had.
My boyfriend was here. He has a lot to say about all of
Oh yeah,
that. Yes.
a lot of huge Star Wars fans here. That is
So
awesome.
I'm sort of Star Wars. I'm more of a Trekkie, to be perfectly honest.
Well, how are you guys together then? Oh my goodness.
But no, but Bradie, you had a lot of energy. But then like on Wind at My Back, I just remember cuddling with you on the couch a lot, and that was lovely.
Oh, that's sweet. Those days are the Wind at My Back days and Goosebumps and every other set that I was on, because I wasn't on set very long. Like I know, Gabby, you started early, very early.
did.
And I think you probably had double as long as the career that I did. But I definitely, that 6 years, the good memories were being on set with other kids and creating a relationship, because reality, I would go to school and no one would be able to relate to what I was doing. So when we all kind of ran into each other, like, we'd talk about Star Wars, but we would talk about it differently, or we'd cuddle on the couch. And it wasn't about the same reason why you'd cuddle at a night at a party or something. It's just we all
No,
related to each other. Such an odd world.
yeah, no, I agree. Because especially like I started acting when I was like 5. And so I was in that weird place. Like I remember being, I think 12 years old and still not knowing what dodgeball was, like not knowing how to play it, like not knowing
Yeah.
what it was. Because like when I was a kid, like I went to school, but with a lot of breaks. And, I could tell you like what a grip did, but like dodgeball, I don't know.
I was talking to Amos Crawley. So he was an actor on Goosebumps, Canadian. I'm sure you guys know who he is. But he was describing this thing that happens with young child actors who grow up. And then when they run into each other again, there's this shared common ground, this shared experience that they have.
Yep.
And they just kind of get it. It's hard to describe what it is, at least how Amos was telling me about it. But it's just not something that you could really describe to anybody unless you had lived it.
Yeah, and I grew up in small town Ontario, so I was one of very few who were interested in doing this, and the fact that I actually got to go out and do it, like there were people who thought there were people in my classes like, oh my God, you're on Goosebumps, that's so cool. But there was also a lot of bullying, and that persisted for a while growing up. But yeah, it's true. It's true. When you meet people who kind of went through the same thing together, it's like that's a shared experience, and you have that, you kind of get each other.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dive into this episode here. So The Blob That Ate Everyone. It's a very fun episode. It's the 23rd of season 2 of the series. It premiered July 19th, 1997, and it was based on the 55th book in the original Goosebumps book series. So Goosebumps was very big by this time, the book series as well as the TV show. How familiar were you guys with the books and the series before you were actually cast?
Huge fan. Huge fan.
You read you read a lot of the books and
Yeah, every book up until that point, and I'd actually auditioned for a couple of other episodes prior to this one.
I was going to ask
So
that. Do you remember what they
I've
are?
definitely calling all creeps.
Um,
Um, so I think I did a couple for that one, and then they pulled me in for this one, and just felt that I was better suited for Zach. So yeah, but like that was a number of weeks of auditions that sort of happened very like right in a row, and then all of a sudden, boom, like let's do this. It was wild.
that's amazing. So Bradie, Gabby,
So
were you fans?
with with Goosebumps, I don't think I actually auditioned. I was at that point, I was such a busy kid. Like I was only in the Toronto acting world, I guess is the best way to call it, because I was refused to leave Toronto at the time. I just didn't want to travel. I went to Montreal a few times to do some things, but I was such a busy kid that I don't think I even read the books. I knew that the series was on because I had heard, obviously, it's a small environment. So you could tell that other kids were getting booked on this show. But I think I just got a call one day from a casting director and they said, hey, they're going to throw you in the show. Do you have time? And the one episode that I was supposed to do, I ended up shooting a commercial, which took a couple days extra. So I ended up not being able to do that episode, which was in the first season. So the second season, I got a call, and I kind of showed up on set, and they're like, "You're going to be eaten by a blob." I'm like, "That sounds awesome. Let's do this."
Do you remember what episode was from the first season?
I would probably have to go through my archives. I'm assuming the sides would be there, but I have no idea. I have to kind of plead the fifth on paying attention to how busy my life was. I go back now, and I'm like, I forget the commercials that I did until I see it. Right? I wasn't crazy successful. It's not a bragging thing. I just mean I was a sweatshop workhorse for right. I got FedExed a lot of my payments to my house the next day cash because I was working hours that you were not allowed to work being a union member. So
Well,
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. All very
yeah,
secretive.
a lot of illegal work. That's on you, Canada.
honestly, that happens in the States too. So, because I remember being I grew up in Los Angeles and then I moved to Montreal. So I had read some of the books. I didn't really know much about the series. And kind of like Bradie, I don't think I auditioned either.
No.
Um, I just I'm not quite sure how that happened, to be perfectly honest. I think I just
Well, Gabby,
got
did
the
you have a
part.
demo reel? Did you have a demo reel that you sent out?
No, but I had done a bunch of stuff and I think it had something to do with Little Men,
Okay.
um, which was a movie that I was in before that. And
Was that the casting director Susan Forrester? Because I'm pretty
I
sure
think
she
so.
did Goosebumps, didn't she?
Yeah, it was the same casting director.
That's
Yeah.
There
probably
we
what
go.
happened.
So that would
That's it.
Susan had a habit of kind of just calling
That
me and
makes
saying you're
sense.
booked on a commercial tomorrow. Yeah.
So yeah, and that was how. But yeah, but to the like, so there were times when I was in Los Angeles, and this was like SAG union, and like I was in this horror film, Daddy's Girl, that is, it's like everyone will like look me up on IMDb and they'll look through and they'll just know that like Daddy's Girl is the most embarrassing one.
No,
I
no,
was
I love it. I love it. Are you kidding? No, I love Daddy's Girl. And you're so good at that. I was going to talk about that one later.
but so with Daddy's Girl, like I was in every single scene except for like three of them. And so I remember at the end, like the last 2 days, the director like coming up to me and my mom and being like, so we really need to end this. And I loved being on set. I had so much fun. So I was like, yeah, stay however long. And mom's like, but so they were giving us like envelopes of cash like under the table.
Yeah. That was quite frequent in my life.
Yeah.
Definitely that's why I can't follow the paper trail. What happened when I was a kid? I was like, wait, what? But yeah, a lot of it
Oh,
was
the
FedEx.
90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of
Pre-digital.
the
Yeah.
stuff can't happen as much. It was a little fast and loose there, man.
What I always tell people when they talk to me about either getting their kids into acting, I said, I'm like, I have no idea what that even involves now being on set, because when I was there, they didn't have the internet. We didn't have, like, if you had the internet, it was a 90-minute trial from, Pinnacle or something
Yeah.
like that they'd send you in the mail. But realistically, no one had cell phones. No one had the internet. It was kind of a world of its own.
Yeah.
So I got into it because because so I lived in Los Angeles, and at this point we were living in the Hollywood Hills, and Michael Mann, the director, lived right across from me
Wow.
and my family. And my mom was very good friends with Michael Mann's wife and the three daughters. I think we were all friends together. But apparently, little precocious 4-year-old me kept propositioning him for. I kept going up to him being, if you have any parts in your movies for 4-year-olds. And that went on to like when I was age 5. And so finally he went up to my mom and he's like, I got her an audition for an agent. She needs an agent.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And that was how that happened. I don't remember it, but that's the story I'm told.
Well, it's nice to know it sounds like at least it was part of your own
Yeah.
interest as opposed to having like a
Oh,
parent that forces you into it, right?
yeah, no, it was very much my own interest.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And I mean, briefly, we were talking about Daddy's Girl a little bit. I mean, so it's become something of a cult classic. I don't know if you're aware.
Apparently,
Yeah.
I'm a little aware, but
Uh-huh. Um,
it's funny. It's not supposed to be funny, but I find it hysterical.
well, I think a lot of old horror movies are kind of fun and funny, and that's part of the charm of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one, I think it's is it William Catt who plays
Hmm.
your dad? And I mean, horror movie fans know him as the boyfriend in Carrie, and he was in
Yeah.
House, and he was also in that show, Greatest American Hero, I think it's called.
Yes, he was.
Right. So, I mean, what was it like working with him?
He was great. So I grew up on like um no, not TNT, like Nick at Night. So I would watch all this old stuff. And my dad was a sitcom writer, like big in the 70s, especially. And so I would watch all this old TV show. So I knew Greatest American Hero. And I'm forgetting what that song was, but like the first day I met him, I started singing that theme
Believe
song.
it or
And they're
not.
not,
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
George isn't at home. Leave a
Well, that's the
message.
Seinfeld version, but
Just in case you
And he
monetize
just
this.
and he just looked at me and he's like, "You're not supposed to know that. Why do you know that?" I was like, "I do." And so he was great. I mean, that movie itself was a lot of fun. There were certain parts that were really emotional, but again, it was in the summer. It was like my summer camp. I was, the only kid. And they gave me this bike that I rode during the movie. I got to keep it, and I was riding it all throughout the set. So I would like start in my trailer and ride my bike to makeup and hair, and then get like my makeup and hair done, and then like go down the hill to like the house we were shooting at, and I got to do all this stunt work. Like it was very cool for me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that because being so young and being
the main villain of a horror movie, and that has to be like really unique and special.
It was super fun. There was some emotional scenes. Like I have to say, the one thing about that movie that I really like is I love the ending. Like I think that ending is because like the rest of the movie's fun or whatever, but that ending, it's one of the only like endings to a horror film like that I can think about, where like all of a sudden it gets turned around and it's this little girl being who you just found out like saw her mother kill her father, and she's just like crying like, "Daddy, don't leave me." And it's just like this sudden like, oh yeah, she's a child. She's like a little child.
Yeah, she's a kid. She did have this traumatic experience, so we can kind of understand her motivations a little bit, why she's going after everybody, why she's
Yeah.
being so protective of her new father.
And the movie ends with the credit rolling with me crying. Now, I have to say, the only thing I hate is that was crying that was done in like, it was like dubbed. And so it's totally fake and it sounds horrible and I hate it. But the idea
Man,
of
the
it
crap that these
ending,
productions left us with. All of this stuff. Like we carry this. This is years later. She's still
I,
carrying this crying scene in the credits.
it wasn't a crying scene. The crying scene was brilliant. It was
All right.
it was me crying in like, dubbed I forgot what that was called, but
ADR?
yes.
Yeah.
And yes, Brady, I am still carrying that.
What's crazy, I know this is Goosebumps, but to go back to Wind at My Back for a moment, do you know how many people on Wind at My Back were technically horror stars? Like
Really?
we had the star of Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas. That was Lynn
Oh,
Griffiths. She was on the show. Gordon Pinsent was on the show. Like we had all
I
of
didn't know
these people that had been famous for doing like really cheesy, kind of crappy horror movies throughout the years. But it's hilarious. Gabby kind of kept that legacy with,
that.
I'm joking. I bet it's a fine film. I've never
No, no,
seen
no,
it.
no. It's not.
It's not.
I mean, I don't. It's
Are we
not
still
like
talking Daddy's
it's
Girl? I'm
yeah.
telling you.
So
Yeah.
it has a cult following
Yeah.
and it's funny, but like I wouldn't say it's like a good movie.
Well,
Um,
when's the last time you watched it though?
I've never watched it
Oh,
fully.
well, so how can you say that then, you know? Yeah, you gotta watch it. Yeah.
See, and I guess that's because I'm always hard on myself. Like I haven't watched the Goosebumps episode fully. Have you guys seen it
No,
all?
no, I've never actually seen the entire episode from start to finish, and I didn't really want to admit that. Well, I felt like that was kind of a faux pas thing to admit, but I'm glad you admitted it first, so I can just tag along. I I I think I got to where I come in as the out in the rain, and I was so upset with the voiceover dub that they had done that I just turned it off as a kid. I don't think I've ever been back to it. I
See,
may have maybe with a girlfriend trying to impress her to maybe when I was in my 20s or something. But otherwise, I don't think I've ever watched it from start to finish.
So was that your voice though still doing the ADR?
It is, but it was 6 months after the shoot. So when I came back, I had shot that I was about 13. When I came back, I had this voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I'm trying to figure out why I came over. Like it's just none of it lines up. I remember the day in the studio, the production people were just pulling their hair out. They're like, we're screwed. We either got to have to, like, we're screwed.
Well, it's good they didn't
But
replace you overall. And to me, I like the way your voice sounds in this episode, and I was going to mention that because it's very you have like a lot of attitude and swagger to it, and maybe that's something that they added later with ADR.
maybe,
But I really like your
No,
voice.
that was something Brady had in general. He
Oh, he
always
brought
had
that to set
swagger.
for sure.
I haven't changed much. I just got ID'd for cigarettes about an hour ago, so I don't think I've changed too much. Maybe a little bit more relaxed, but I don't think I've ever been cool. It's probably just an insecurity thing that I put out there.
Well, you definitely
Like
seemed
all
very
child
cool in the
actors, we all have
episode.
them.
It got you the
What's that,
gig.
sorry?
I was going to say you seemed very cool in the episode, and Scott's agreeing it got you the gig.
Well, I think that was maybe that's a testament to, I guess, the little bit of skill maybe I did have when I was a kid, but that's kind of what they told me to do. They were like, "You're going to come in, you're going to be a bully," and I'm like, "I'm half the size of Gabby, and like, what are you talking about? How could anyone ever consider me a bully?" And I think it was the first time I realized that verbs, like even in their writing, like I was kind of a mean kid in that show,
Hmm.
Hmm.
which was to justify me getting eaten,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
right, or
Mhm.
ate, depending on what your English skills are.
Eaton sounds good to me.
I like it.
So you all have and we've already started talking about it, but you all have these distinct personalities in the episode. Scott, you're playing Zach. You're the writer. You're also a bit of a scaredy cat. Bradie, you're playing Adam again, kind of a prankster. You're relentlessly teasing everybody. Gabrielle, you're the smart one of the group. You're the
Okay.
one who shows clear leadership qualities. I was curious if any of you, the real you, do you share any of these qualities with your characters?
I wouldn't say I'm a scaredy cat. I love me a good horror movie. But I mean, I've also always been into writing, so I guess that kind of fell into place okay. But no, the personalities just worked for all three of us. I think we just kind of easily fit right into these three kids characters, and yeah, I mean, you definitely had the bully down, and we loved watching you get eaten. And it was yeah, it was. I remember being on set that day and just watching them figure out how to do it because like they had one shot at it,
Yeah.
and yeah, and you rehearsing it, and then just going for it, and it was pretty spectacular.
I thought we were going to blow that shot. So because they put the pressure on me, they're like, we only have one chance. You only have one outfit. We're going to cover it in this slime that we can't get it off. We're going to have to rush you to a hotel to kind of get you in the shower because this is the same slime that we used in Ghostbusters, and that was like causing burns to people. So you got to kind of get it off you ASAP. So I went into it like, oh no. And it went by within 2 seconds. It was perfect for what it was. Now, I do have a glitch in that show because I've been sent the clips very, very many a time over the years since social media started of me being eaten or ate, depending. And if you watch, because it is one shot and they couldn't do it again, there's actually a piece of foam that is not painted that's sticking out and you can see it blatantly. It's like, hey, that's a prop. That's not a blob. And somehow it never got edited out and it got put out. And I don't think it's ever been, unless Netflix or somebody is digitally taking it out. It looks like a giant botch.
And there's one quick moment where you see your leg kind of go up to push yourself into the mouth, but it cuts
Yes.
away really quickly. So it's okay.
I basically just crawled in the thing.
Yeah, Scott, we didn't really get to you on this question, but it sounds like you've been watching the episode. You've seen it.
I have seen it, yeah. And actually, it was a while ago. I think someone gave me the DVD that include like there
Oh,
were three episodes on it, and that was there. So yeah,
yeah. So your memory's
So
pretty clear of that.
pretty clear, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to buy those in bulk when they would go on sale at Amazon.
Mhm.
And because I would go to conventions and I would just sign them and give them to people, right? I was like, hey, I'm just plugging myself right now. This is a good idea. You buy them for like 99 cents on Amazon at a clearance. But I've had like three different boxes of those with three different covers over the years.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
so speaking a little bit about the blob monster. So you all had experience sharing the screen with this thing. What exactly
Yep.
was it? Was it a giant puppet that somebody was operating?
There was a dude in it
Yeah.
sometimes. Um, and there were three different kinds of tongues, two of which were like hand puppet, and one was animatronic, like you pulled levers and things and it would curl and uncurl. But yeah, mostly it was a guy in the blob suit. And I remember one day where he has to lift the whole thing up onto the desk and grab the typewriter and eat the typewriter. And the
Yep.
poor guy inside threw his back up because not only is the blob so heavy to lift up, but then to grab that heavy old typewriter and then throw it on the ground, it was a lot. It was a lot. So felt bad for him.
So I remember the tongue. I had interaction with the tongue
Oh
and I got
yes.
slimed. I also, I think, was the only one who, lucky girl, had interaction with the
Yep,
worms.
that was you. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That was me. And of course, I was told that they were just all fake worms.
Yes,
And
I
this
remember
was
that.
and this was definitely something that was done on purpose. And the truth is they could have told me that it was real worms, but I think, the surprise when a worm started crawling up my arm was probably something that they wanted to catch on felt. But I was like, that's
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that box was full, like about that much of just fake slimy worms, but then
yeah,
they added an extra layer of real worms to make the slither happen.
they did
So,
indeed. They did
yeah,
indeed, but they did not tell me that. In fact, they told me the
no,
exact opposite of that.
yeah,
You actually had to reach out and grab some.
And basically
I
pretend
had
you
to
weren't
stick my
scared. Yeah.
I had to stick my whole hand in the worms.
Yep. And
I remember.
they weren't even like regular earthworms. They were long night crawlers that the fishermen would use.
I,
Yeah. So it was pretty gross. You were
that
pretty
was
grossed
fun.
out.
It was, yeah, because it's like the texture. And I was like I was 11, so like I was like a slime. But for the most part, like I've always kind of been pretty, you tell me what to do, I'll do it.
you didn't show it. You didn't show it.
Good.
I mean, your character's kind of like, don't be such a pushover, don't be so scared or whatever. And you weren't. So if you were, you hit it very well.
I think it was more like just, ick. But even that, I'm a good little soldier. I always have been.
And I think everybody would be grossed out at least a little bit. Like even if you are the type of boy who likes to play with bugs, and to me, like a crate full of worms is pretty nasty.
Well, it's pretty common when growing up in Ontario, especially in small cities, my friend. We do a lot of fishing here.
Oh, I don't.
Big lakes. Big lakes.
I grew up, yeah, playing with worms.
Oh my goodness. So in this episode, the basic plot is so Scott, you play again this character Zach who loves to write, and you find an old typewriter, and horror ensues when you realize everything you type using this typewriter comes true, including the Blob Monster story. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but it actually resembles the true life story of how R.L. Stine got into writing. Because R.L. Stine found an old typewriter in his attic and he brought it back to his room, started writing scary stories, and basically never stopped. So you are R.L. Stine in the story. I didn't know if you were aware of that.
I'll take it. Thank you very much. Cool. If I meet him one day, I'll be like, hey, hey,
That's right.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. So I thought that was a really cool little fact about that. Bradie, again, like you as this young child actor, you had a lot of attitude that you brought onto set. Now everybody seems to be saying that's who you really were. So you
Hmm.
weren't. Are you saying that's accurate, or did you consciously, at least to some degree, add a little bit of attitude to everything you were saying?
No, I probably toned it down, to be honest. Gabby's 100% right. I was
Yeah.
on the set of Goosebumps. I was probably hell to deal with. By the time when my back rolled around a couple of years later, I was probably calmed down a bit. I, I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like I was a kid, and I think that I didn't really understand why I was there.
Mhm.
I look back now and I get it. I was small. I looked like I was 6 years old. I was 11. I could work, in these hours. Like I get the actual physical and physics behind why I was there. Um, but I think it's one of those things. Like there's two ways of looking at it. One is like when you're doing something, slow down so you can embrace the moment. Right. Then there's another portion of you that's just like, if you slow down and embrace the moment, you'll never do anything good because you're overthinking already. So I think as a kid, I naturally just maybe was blessed by not being kind of ignorant and just being myself on set. And when they said roll, hopefully I memorized those sides. Hopefully, but it would have been the same person probably. It's toned down a little bit, maybe.
Gotcha. That's so interesting to hear. Um, Now I'm curious too if there were ever any injuries on set, even if they were a little bit minor. And the reason I asked this, Scott, there's a scene where after you uncover the typewriter, you pretend to get like electrocuted by it, and then it looks like you just fall forward flat on your face, and it looks like it's really you. I don't see it. It doesn't look like they cut to any stuntman. Did you actually
No,
have to do this?
that was a lot of fun. We did have a coordinator on set,
Okay.
and he was super fun to work with. I can't remember his name. I apologize, but he was a lot of fun.
He's the
And
guy that wipes out in the video store and takes
he
over the
is. He's one of the
videos.
two
Yeah.
guys who falls
Oh,
over
cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
the
remember him
stand of
doing that. It
videos.
was so cool.
And it was VHS. Remember those things with the spinny and the tape that goes across VHS? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
I'm a 90s
But
kid. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, they had a mat kind of on the ground behind me. So I just kind of pretended to get shocked, and they said, just make sure you spin around so we see you fall before you go down. And that was kind of the one take I did, and I did face plant, but it was right into a mat, so it was fine. But in terms of injuries, it wasn't an injury, but do you remember how much we used candles on this
Hmm.
set?
Yeah.
So they needed to light our faces. So they taped these long, thin lights to the back of the candles so it would illuminate our faces. And we would always have to like
Yes.
turn it so that it would never face. So if you look carefully, sometimes you can see it poking out. But those lights would get real hot
Yeah.
and create like rivers of wax that kept falling onto our hands. So that was kind of annoying. But hey, all part of the experience. Got to act your way through
You know,
that.
I like completely forgot about that. Now I'm like, I remember I'm
Yeah.
walking down like very like,
Got to
and
That's
I
turn
when the
it.
actually
power goes
liked
out or
the,
something in the
Yeah.
house, right?
Power
Yeah,
goes
I
I
out.
actually
liked
Just
the
remember
wax.
that day. I think that was one of the worst shooting days that we had because nothing went right. That's the same day where I did the voiceover,
Yep.
like, or would have led to do the voiceover. We had so many problems on set that day. That just brought me back to that.
That was like the first or second day of shooting, I think.
Yeah.
What
Maybe.
what were
Yeah.
some of the other issues that you ran into that you can remember?
Well, the fact that they put me in a onesie with feeties and I was like 13 years old in high school,
You're wearing
that was,
cowboy pajamas. Yeah.
yeah. No, I think the blob was a little bit of a pain in the ass for the guys to work with. But outside of that,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I did want to ask you about that. Gabrielle, you had a comment?
Well, so I remember with the blob, it was the size. So like there was that one scene when we were all cramped in like a bedroom or something, and it was the
Wait, that
huge
wasn't
blob.
filmed? We didn't film that. We're not supposed to talk about that. We signed paperwork. Yeah. Ooh, ooh.
But so it was like big. And I remember it was like I was on one side and the thing was having to come with the tongue and it was just cramped and there was a lot of people in that room and I remember being hot as hell.
Yes, I do remember that. And they had to
Yeah.
squeeze it through the
Yeah.
bedroom door, and that took a lot.
And that was
Yeah,
challenging too. Yeah. Any sort of moving of that thing took hours.
now I wasn't there on set when they did this, but my understanding was when the blob took down the door,
Yeah.
that took a lot of coordination as well. I think it just generally this hefty thing wasn't like they needed to figure out how to work it properly as they were going because we
Yeah,
only what we shoot this in 5 days or something like that.
I think so.
So
5 days, yeah.
that was it. It was just figure it out as we go.
Where my memory is actually really good here, and it may be just because it was the first time I was ever on set with something this kind of intricate. They were stressing to us about how long this blob took to make, and that this episode was supposed to be at the very beginning of the season, but the blob they could just never get it proper, and they spent thousands to the point where the final mock-up was worth like 20,000 on its own.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, tens of thousands on this
and it
thing.
still
Yeah,
had like a
like
piece of foam on it.
Yeah.
it still was messing up all the time. I think it was a much bigger task than their budget allowed them to work with, and they pulled it off though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the blob monster is I love the way that it looks. To me it reminds me a little of Pizza the Hut from
Yeah.
Spaceballs,
A bit,
right?
yeah.
It's like this big pile of melted cheese, but it has these giant teeth and of course it has this tongue that comes out. I mean, yeah, and that was one of my questions because we actually don't see it a lot. It's called the Blob That Ate Everyone, but it's really only in the last few scenes, and the shots are pretty quick. So I imagine there must have been some issues getting the shots, getting the thing to look right for certain angles, and when it would like chew, you can see the folds in it a little bit, so they'd cut away real
Yeah.
fast to another shot.
It's like a low budget version of Jaws. The blob is broken. The blob is broken.
100%.
Yeah.
But no, but they said that a lot. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I spent I spent more time in the chaperone room with the tutor on that
Yeah.
set than any other set I've ever been before. Now I don't know if that's because Scholastic was partly involved and there was government grants and things like that. So they had their eye on everything. But that's the only production out of like 7 years, 6, 7 years that I was on that actually made me do schoolwork.
Yes, we did get a lot of schoolwork done for sure.
Yeah, they were
I think my
responsible.
favorite shot of the Blob, because I got to watch you do this, Brady, is the one where the camera's inside and the mouth opens up and you're just looking. That's and they just did that separately on set one day, aside from the video store scene. And I was
Wow,
there and
your
I was
memory is fantastic with this. I completely forgot that was even a shot.
yeah, yeah, and it
I can
was
kind of
like
see it now,
instant.
me shooting it. Yeah, yeah.
It's like 2 second shot of it just opening its mouth and you're looking like, what?
And was that the actual puppet, or did they have like a separate type of thing that was supposed
No,
to
it
come
was
out?
it was inside the actual puppet
Oh,
for
okay.
sure. And they had it up on this big thing with the camera looking up and Brady was looking over and yeah,
No, I mean that
I was
thing
just
was
fascinated.
huge. I think
Yeah.
that's the problem that why maybe it wasn't like in his mind. It was gigantic.
And did they have it on wheels sometimes to like wheel it around, or really just there
Maybe.
was some guy in there operating it?
Just a dude, really hot.
Dude nibble off. Yes.
Yep.
Do you remember his name? Because there actually is an actor credited as being the Blob Monster on IMDb,
Oh, really?
Jason Hopley, and it's the same person who was he was some of the horrors in the One Day at Horrorland episode, and I
Ah.
think he was also a puppeteer in Nanalon, that show, as a Canadian
Well,
Oh
the
puppet
name
wow.
show.
kind of rings a bell, like Jason. Yeah. Hi, Jason, if you're watching.
I did
Wait,
try to
what?
find him. I couldn't find him either, but
What show? You
Nanalon.
said.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I know it's popular in Canada, a children's show with these puppets.
Hmm,
And actually, Jack
no.
Lenz, the guy who did the theme song for Goosebumps, did a lot of the music for that as well. So
Huh.
Now that is a banger. That holds up. That
Yeah,
song, come on. There's a
yeah.
great
The
mashup.
Goosebumps song.
Yeah, the I think it's a Fatboy Slim episode, music video of Christopher Walken dancing.
Yes.
Mashes up with the Goosebumps theme, like perfect.
have you guys all seen this?
I mean, I've seen the Christopher Walken.
Okay. I feel very honored. I made that. That was that was actually
What?
yeah. That was one of
That's
my big posts.
phenomenal. I'm humbled.
I'm humbled by you guys. This is
Well,
fantastic.
I'll watch it now.
Yeah, you should check it out. Um, so I wanted to talk about the video store set. So I imagine they didn't build this. This was an actual video store. Do you guys remember where this was?
I
I
don't. My
believe,
memory.
I
I've had a
think
couple people reach out recently. I guess there's a documentary being made, and they really want to
YouTube.
know what the name of that video store is. And I know it was a very popular one downtown Toronto. It was a mainstay, but I have yet to be able. I think I knew a couple years ago,
I
but I
thought
have
it was
not
Queen
talked to someone
Video.
recently.
What was that, Scott?
I thought it was Queen Video. I could be wrong. It's
Maybe it
not
is.
there anymore, like that location, because it was kind of around the corner from where we shot the exterior of the burned down store.
Right.
Um, and
I remember
yeah,
that.
like you said, it was like a staple in Toronto, and I think there's still
Yeah.
one location that's running, but that particular one is closed at this point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I too, like I've had people reaching out to me being like, I'm writing a book about this or doing a documentary. Can you tell me what this was? And yeah,
I don't even know how they find me. I guess maybe because my last name's somewhat unique, but it just to me, I feel like if you were gonna go through the whole Goosebumps series and you're gonna message someone to find something out, I'd probably be the last person you'd want to message, like that bully kid who got eaten. He's probably still bitter.
you know, as the years have gone on through adulthood, like this has been happening more and more, which I think is so cool because it not only kind of like gets us a chance to come together for the first time in 20 some odd years, but it also like it co connects millennials who all grew up around the same time. And this is just sort of a moment in time that we're all like, yeah, that was good. That was a good time.
Well, and see, I love it because so I have like two really groups of fans, sort of the Goosebumps, the horror film, sometimes, and like the Daddy's Girl, it's cult. So some of them are a little extreme. But then I have this other group that thankfully I don't hear from as much anymore. But they consist of old men who don't think that I am older than 11.
Oh,
Oh,
weird.
Jesus.
And I get, when I was like in my 20s, my went to my agent, my agent forwarded, I got a birthday present of like little girl, a package of like little girl underwear.
Oh my God.
Or and like one time on Facebook, I ended up having to like call like Facebook security to get like the IP address of this guy blocked because like he kept messaging me and he would be like, and then he ended up sending me. He ended up so he was like harassing me for weeks, and I would block him, and he would come back as someone else, and he would just send me messages that said, "Be my friend," all
Whoa.
letters. And then I finally got his IP blocked, and then he ended up sending a gift to my agent at the time, and there was this letter in it where basically he was saying like that this was his gift for like he was apologizing for being a creep. So his apology for being a creep was, and he said that Daddy's Girl, he said that he based the outfit. It was sort of on that like white and pink lace, like light pink lace dress that I wear, but Jody is all grown up now, he says. So and it was a little thong with like a hot pink like tutu and
Wow.
fishnet, like white fishnet socks and white fishnet gloves and like a little white frou-frou like triangle bra. I ended up modeling it for my boyfriend at the time who really liked it. uh
Well, I'm glad you're able to find a little bit of humor in this, but we're all collectively horrified, I think.
Oh my God. I'm
So what
sorry I
you're
went
saying
through
is
that.
Goosebumps doesn't have stands, they have steins.
okay.
We just call them steins.
Ah.
Ah,
Signs, that's good. I like
But
that.
so for me,
All
like
right.
anything that I get that isn't that, I'm like, yes, that works. I'll take it. Let's go Goosebumps. Just don't send me any
So
more creepy
crazy.
gifts.
I'm
wow.
so sorry you have to deal with that. That's the experience
It
for
happens.
the female child actors from the 90s has been very different. I've heard of several stories. You're not
Yeah.
the only one. But Catherine Long has talked about this as well. She had a stalker. Catherine Long played Carly Beth in The Haunted Mask, probably the most famous episode of
She
Goosebumps.
was on Wind at My Back as well.
Oh, was
She was
she?
a cast member on that. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
she started in, like again, like you guys, a lot of different things in the 90s. But yeah, she had a stalker, so she's been pretty private. And there's a lot of other examples of that. And I'm sorry you have to deal with that. That's really truly horrible.
I mean, thankfully it didn't get any worse. Like I said, it was kind of funny too. It was like, oh,
I was gonna say
this is
free clothes are free clothes. Like
well,
I
and
don't
this
know.
was his apology. Like the letter literally said, like, this is my apology for being weird and creepy. And it was like the
I'll just be
creepiest
weird and
thing
creepy some
I've
more.
ever
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I am glad it stopped at least.
done. Yes.
Can you
Um,
give him my email?
yeah, we
Because
could all
I'm
use
Do
some
actually
you
some
looking
need
free
do you
for
clothes.
need
We'll
some new
take it.
clothes?
some
Yeah,
new
yeah.
undergarments.
So what are your what would you say is your most vivid memory of that experience, aside from some of the things you already discussed?
I mean, for me, it was honestly the first thing that I'd ever done like this.
Oh wow.
So it was all very new to me. It was very exciting, and it was very cool to have the two of you to hang out with and to do this with. So it was like, for a first time, uh, having a big part in a show like this, uh, everyone was so supportive. And even though I knew that, the Blob team was having a rough time, like spirits were still very positive, at least from where I was, what I could see. Um, yeah, it was just a good vibe. It was a good vibe on set, and Randy, our director, would always tell us really corny jokes, between takes, and
Yeah, that like
yeah.
dad energy, dad joke energy. Yeah.
Totally. It
He
was
the one actually that's something I could take away from that set is how nice of a gentleman the director was and how
Hmm.
tall he was. He was like
he,
8 feet tall.
yep.
Maybe
You're
he's gonna
like
play
me
the
that we're
Blob Monster.
short, Brady. Everyone seems tall, but I'm with
Wait,
mm, you know you love me.
he was a gentleman. He definitely was a gentleman director.
Mm.
I guarantee you guys could attest to this. I met a lot of crappy, horrible directors that had no business directing children, let alone a production of adults. But that was nice. They did definitely had a good. The whole crew. I don't
Yeah.
remember anything negative about that week at all.
No. It was a good time. It was a good week.
Yeah. Well, and I know I already mentioned it, but the worms. The worms, that is what I will always remember most. And that they put me in overalls.
Oh yeah,
I
you got.
remember it. I remember that as well.
Yeah, well, I would have taken those overalls over the onesie.
But it was so cute. You can
But I guess
blame
like
R.L. Stein for that.
for me, like that character, and I think it was sort of part of my personality, but also like I was constantly cast as like that tomboy.
Yeah.
Um, they at that point, I think it just really became just kind of like my second nature. Like especially when I was a kid in LA, there was like her name was Molly Orr, and she had these big, huge eyes, and she always looked like she was almost about to cry. And she always got the like Lifetime movies, like that was kind of Molly's thing. And my thing was like the little, let me out. I'm a little scruffy because I had that raspy voice, and um, but so I was always being put in overalls. Not just in Goosebumps. It was just always overalls. In Daddy's Girl, I'm in overalls. Always overalls.
So I take it you didn't keep any of the wardrobe from your set.
No.
Was there anything else you guys were able to take away from the set?
I had the book and I had it signed by everybody. So, and I still have that. I
That was
wasn't,
pretty cool.
it's at my mom's house. I wasn't able to get it in time, but I do have it and your signatures are there.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
yeah. So that's a little keepsake for sure.
I think that my biggest takeaway from that week and that experience, not only did we have fun on set shooting it, but to see how, you know, there's no way I would have believed as a kid if you walked in and said the day that we wrapped up, 30 years from now, this thing is still going to be just as popular as the day it aired. And I would have
Totally.
never believed that. And that's my favorite thing about this. Like I did a little bit of work in a very small amount of time, and this is the one that keeps coming back. It always comes back. I've had calls 10 years ago to go out to the Yukon for Comic Cons and tours because of this episode of this show. It's the resume, but this is what does it. I could say a million and one things to people and say, well, I did this, blah, 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 blah. The second you get the goosebumps, it's a goosebump. Like it doesn't matter
Totally.
what age they are. It doesn't matter what part of the world they're from. For some reason, this thing has just resonated. We're at the point where they've made 2 feature films. Like I'm blessed that I was still on, that I'm still alive and can see this happening. And I feel very blessed I was involved with it.
Well, and I have to say, so currently, so I have gone completely the other end of acting. I'm a social worker, medical social worker, specializing in old people. And I work for a home health agency. That's why I'm in my car because I'm in between my visits.
Ah.
But I was talking to one of my other social workers, and because we were just discussing some visits, and I was like, oh well, I have to do this thing today, and I mentioned the blob that ate everyone, and she went, "That's why you look so familiar."
So funny.
And I was like, wait, seriously? She's like, yes. I knew you looked familiar because, of course, I look almost the exact same. Like I have a little bit more cheekbone, but like for the most part, with
You're
the hair,
taller.
it's like
Yeah.
yeah, but not by a lot. Um, being honest, I'm like barely 5'1". Um, but yeah, I was like, oh, they hate everyone. It was like that is so okay. Like And they know by episode too. Like it is. It's weird. It's cool though.
That
Totally.
is cool.
And what are you doing these days, Brady?
So I wear lots of hats. You can pretty much Google me and you'll see what I'm up to. But right now, currently, I'm a consultant, an executive producer, and a chase producer for a media company in Toronto. And I am also a consultant with the Rama Gaming Houses here in Ontario. If you ever need to
Oh,
go,
cool.
if you're in Ontario and you want to go get the best meal ever and play some games, ladies and gentlemen, Rama Gaming House, Scarborough and Meadowvale, go check it out.
Get that
Look
plug
at
in.
you. Look at you, little Brady. Do you know what I remember the most about you, Brady? What I remember the
What's
most
that?
about you is your campaign to wear long pants on
Yeah.
on Wind in My Back.
Yeah.
They put
So that took
you
2 years.
they tell you, and I just remember when I first started there, you would like on the board, the blackboard, it would be
Yeah.
like Pritchard needs pants.
Yeah. Uh, I would literally go everywhere and say, I'm not wearing these. I'm not wearing these. It's what is it? Knickers. It's hard to say in audio podcast without sounding bad, ladies and gentlemen. But they used to make me wear these
Britches.
shorts pants. Breeches. Yes, I was
Yeah.
wearing breeches. And finally,
And
I said, guys, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to quit unless I'm wearing pants.
because like the other
So
boys,
they
they
let
were
me wear
wearing long pants.
they let me wear pants, and then the show ended shortly after. So
Yeah.
thanks. I'm assuming my pants is probably what brought the show down. Sorry, Kevin Sullivan.
Just remember, it's so cute. You would talk so much. You were like, to Tyrone, the guy who played Hub, and you were like, "You get to wear pants. Why do I get to wear
Well, I was the Urkel of that show.
pants?" Yeah.
They kind of, but and that's what they said when they first kind of gave me the role. They're like, "Look, you're going to be the depression version of Urkel," and I said, "I thought the show is about crying." Like I've seen an episode before. The dad died in the pilot of the show. What is? What are you talking about? They're like, "We're taking a different direction." And I'm like, oh, okay. So I came in halfway through the show's run. It was at the end of the second season, I believe. And they just kind of let me go to town. Like I was doing ballet and tripping over chairs, wearing bathing caps on my head, riding a bike 3 times the size. But that show they never did that. They kind of just made me the little bit of relief for all
Yeah.
their puns. So,
So they just
which,
kept you in those
that has a
britches.
strong fan base too, Gabby. I don't know if you've
I
ever seen
know.
that, but like how many people are still watching that show that's being played in 75 countries right now? In 2025, they're still playing that. It's
That
crazy. They're
is.
very lucky. Very lucky.
I have to say,
Totally.
Daddy's Girl. Like, I do know that there's a cult following. Daddy's Girl for me is the standout. I get some goosebumps here and there, but for some reason, that horror film.
And what about a
And
lot of other things like
The Nanny. I actually watched this
yeah,
episode recently because I was like, oh,
yeah.
she's in this. I love The Nanny.
Well, that one. Well, so I was already really good friends with Madeline Zima. And actually, when I got older, I like connected with her and her two sisters, the Zima girls. They're amazing, by the way. And really like the fact that they were acting as young as they did, and that they didn't have a parent quite as like protective as my mom. It's a miracle that they're all like really cool, really well adjusted. But so her like Fran Drescher, she was fun. She had her normal voice that she talked in. I gotta say, I have a lot more respect for her now. Just with how she ran SAG. Like I gotta give that to her. And I think everyone kind of, not it's because when she knows this, like when she sort of typecasts herself right away, it's like,
yeah.
But she is really smart, and as president of SAG, she thought she was great. But no, that set was fun because I just ran around with Maddie the whole time.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, yeah.
And Scott, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, so after Goosebumps, I did a couple more episodes of things as a young
We're
teenager.
gonna
I
talk
did
about
an
Are You
episode
Afraid of the
of
Dark in a second, but yeah.
Sure, yeah, so I did Real Kids Real Adventures, which was for Discovery Channel, and I did Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then after that, I mean, I'm a small town kid, lived 2 hours outside of Toronto. Every time I was called in to do an audition, and we'd have to do that drive. And it was just getting to be a lot. And my parents were splitting up at the time, and I was just starting high school, and it was just like, let's take a breather. Um, studied acting post-secondary at U of T, joint program with Sheridan College. And
U of T
yeah,
would
and
be what
so
for Canadians? Toronto?
University of Toronto,
Okay.
yeah.
Here, when I
Yeah.
hear U of T,
And
I think of University of Texas or
oh,
UT.
okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. U University of Toronto. And yeah, so I haven't really been doing anything screen. Most of the work I've done in my adult life has been in theater. I'm also a choir director, a music director.
Cool. So when you say that the Goosebumps theme song's like fire, you know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. No, if I ever do a TV show themed concert, that it will be like the opening number of the show.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've got a rock choir, I've got an a cappella choir that I lead. I music direct for regional theater.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of straddle the line between acting and music directing, and kind of have ever since sort of moving back to Toronto.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so cool. And so yeah, are you afraid of the dark? Another huge series for kids horror in the 90s. It's amazing
Yep.
you were on both series.
I got one of each.
Yep.
I'm done. I peaked early. That was it.
And there actually are a handful of actors who both starred in Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I think it was just, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but just the nature of young child actors in Canada. You were starring in a lot of the same stuff because there was just a
Hmm.
small group.
And with both shows, there was a small group, and they needed actors. So it was like if you were even kind of like an actor in Montreal or Toronto at that time, you were going to be in one of them because they were near the end. They were just like, desperate.
I'm sorry to all the non-talents out there that said I auditioned when I was a kid. I never got a call back. Gabby just completely buried your talents, but that's probably why you didn't get a call back.
Hey, I'm nice. I promise. I'm nice.
I know that you are. I know you are. Um, Scott, so I mean, you worked with Jay Baruchel too in
I
this
did.
episode. And it's before his career exploded. His career exploded a little later.
I
Did
know Jay, actually. I know Jay
oh,
really well. Well, I used to
Yeah,
know Jay really well.
oh,
I've
that's
got a lot
amazing.
of heat with Jay, and we'll talk about that on maybe a different episode. But
Oh
I got a
no.
lot of heat with that guy.
Woo.
Oh, see, I have funny stories. So me and Jay, we went to an acting class together. We both lived in Montreal. Montreal is small. It's a lot
Hmm.
of public transportation. And for some reason though, I was constantly running into him on buses, on subways, and every time he would look at me and he would react like he could not believe like I was like some alien that dropped from the sky. And it's like, dude, we live on the same small island. But like he would see me and be like, I'm like,
It's a good impression.
and then I went back out to LA when I was in my 20s and I didn't really know what to do. And I ran into him a whole bunch there too. And actually I gotta say, like his sort of awkward teenage thing, like I think he's great. He really found a way to sort of make it work. Um,
I would
and
say
I have to
that.
give him credit for that.
Oh yeah, totally. Because when I worked with him, I was 14. I think he was 15,
This
and
is in
like
1999 when the episode comes out.
yeah, yeah. And he, nice guy. We had a great time working together. I could tell that he was on his way. Like he knew he had plans and he was working and he was, on to the next thing after this. So I'm just like, I'm gonna watch for you, and look where he went. But I remembered him from a previous episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, because he played the first victim of some swimming pool monster
Yeah, the pool
in a
monster.
nut.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Dead
And
Man's Float, I believe. Yeah.
yeah, and I remembered that again. Loved these shows, and then happened to be able to go on both of them. So I was like, oh, you're the kid that disappeared at the beginning. That's cool.
Do
And
you
now
have
you
any
get to
other?
rescue me from being shrunk down this big. Great.
Yeah, so you get shrunk down to this miniature person that's going to be sold or traded or something like that after
Yep.
this guy takes your thumbprint. Do you have any other like special memories of working on that episode,
Well, the guy who played Dr. Click, Mr. Click,
Mr. Click?
his name was Ed. He was so funny Oh my God, the man would make me laugh. And like I busted takes because he made me laugh so hard. He had this like throne that he sat in, and anytime I would walk into the room, he would just sort of turn around and be the Emperor from Star Wars and like do the voice. And oh my
Yeah.
God, he was hysterical. Um,
Execute Order 66. Sorry.
exactly, exactly. Your rebel friends will do nothing, you know. Um, yeah, so I do remember laughing a lot for that episode. Yeah, no, it was good. And a lot of takes of rolling dice.
Yeah.
Lot of this. I know there were for some of the close-up shots of the dice were like this big and on a
Oh, that's
gimbal
really
that they
cool.
just spun. So there's some of that. Yeah, and I'd never been to Montreal before that. So it was sort of first time in Montreal, checking out the city. Lovely to get a per diem. And yeah,
Montreal is awesome. I live in North Carolina now, but Montreal is great and a great place to visit. It's so
it is.
cold for such a long time.
Yeah, I've only ever been back once. We went just sort of on a road trip during the pandemic, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this place." And that's where we
I,
shot that. Yeah.
I went back a bunch of times, but there was one time I moved to Los Angeles and then I came back to visit in the winter time. And I guess like there had been enough time, like 4 months. Um, I don't ever remember being so uncomfortable. Like, and I used to live there. Like, I used to like walk to school. I was
Cold up
cold
there.
and hungry like the whole time. I was like, oh my God, how is this like something that I ever existed in? But
Human beings are not supposed to live in Canada.
Yet here we are. Brady, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you Chip in Beauty and the Beast?
I was Chip the Teacup in the Princess of Wales Toronto Broadway
Yeah.
production. Yeah, for
Y-
the first, I think the first year that it was there, and
Yeah.
then they had
that
offered
is so
me to go
cute.
down to New
Awesome.
York, and like I said, I was a very busy kid, and it got to the point within my first year in, we were just weighing out what made sense and what didn't. So I had turned down the Truman Show to play a young Truman as a kid because it just didn't make sense because I was so busy. Turned down Popular Mechanics for Kids. I turned down X-Men, the playing young Magneto. Like all, it's funny. I have like a resume of the things that I turned down were 10 times probably better than the stuff that I was doing at the time. But we just got into this game where it was just my agent had fired her agency. I was her only client now. And it was just weighing things all day long. And I kind
And
of
you
really
just
didn't even
do
know
the
what was
work.
going on. I spent most of my time sleeping in the backseat of a car on the way to set or from set type thing. So
Yeah.
you look back at it now and you're like, what do you mean Truman Show as a kid? What do you mean X-Men?
Yeah,
But
I'm like,
at the time, you didn't know it was just another production, right? So,
no,
Yeah.
I totally get that, but I'm
Trying to think, was it the TV show or the movie we're talking about?
well, Popular Mechanics would have been the TV show. So I went down with Alicia in the first season. They wanted me to do polar bear swimming, and I said no. So then that's what made me turn the show
I
down.
don't
So then
blame
it
you.
went to
I did
Jay.
a movie with Alicia.
Yeah, and it went to Jay after
Yep.
that. Jay was we were just talking about, and
Yeah.
then X-Men. They wanted me to go to Ireland to shoot that scene because I guess it's like the city's at war. There's bombing going on. Magneto's running. I've never seen the movie. Magneto runs through a village or something with his family. They wanted me to play that kid. I didn't want to go travel that far. And then the Truman Show thing. Originally in the sides, it said that I was supposed to fall in the water with the dad. Well, I don't, as you can tell, I don't like
You
water.
don't.
Didn't at the time. So I said, no, I'm not doing that, thinking that they would just rewrite it. Well, they did rewrite it, but they didn't cast me in it. They basically were extremely offended that they got to the point where they gave me wardrobe and all this stuff, and I turned it down last minute. So
Hmm.
but I didn't know. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
you
For
never
one, I was
know.
young. I can plead ignorance, but
I
there's
know.
a lot of weighing
My
out, like a lot weighing options.
my agent turned down Bastard Out of Carolina.
Oh,
My
really?
agent and my mom. Yes. I
So when
think
we got
about
done
that
wind at my back,
sometimes.
when we got
This
done
was
wind at
before
my
that.
back, my agent called me and said they're relaunching this show called Degrassi. Do you want to roll? Basically, they're just going to give you some nerd role in it. You're going to play Pritchard, but in Degrassi. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I just got off a 3-year series. I'm not working for minimum wage union dues anymore. I'm going back to doing commercials. So, like I said, I think a lot of the stuff that I turned down was probably better than some of the stuff I did. Thank goodness I didn't turn down Goosebumps. So,
I don't know. Degrassi's. I like the old Degrassi.
The paychecks don't judge the quality of the content.
I grew up watching the old Degrassi. No, but Bastard Out of Carolina with Jenna Malone. Ended up finding that out like years later, and I was like, "What? You guys did what?" Like, and I get it. You know, at the time, like there was a lot of child molestation, and they just
Yeah.
didn't. But I think about like that's the only thing that like I sometimes think about, like because it was just so good.
And
And I feel like, I've done stuff that was fun, but like I don't think that I've really done something that was just like really like resonate. It's like that does. Bastard Out of Carolina is brilliant.
Bradie, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Erie, Indiana, The Other Dimension. This was a spin-off of the original Erie, Indiana series. You played Eddie, who was a younger version of the father character on the show, but you were originally supposed to play a different character, is that right?
I was supposed to play the co-star.
Mm-hmm.
So
Stanley?
the little blonde guy, I think his name is Danny. I ran into him later on. He actually owned an MMA company here in Toronto that I was doing production for. But yeah, so I was another kind of thing. They offered me that role. They were going to start shooting, I believe, in the end of the summer. And I was like, hey, I just kind of got accepted to high school, which was a task in itself. No. So then they called back and they're like, look, we're just going to write a hippie role for him. At that point, I was starting to experiment in drugs and stuff in my, early teens. So I think they kind of caught that on camera too. And they're like, let's just turn him into a stoner. So they basically told me, they're like, we're going to write a little hippie stoner role for you. Go home and do research. Winky face. And kind of come, but we'll see you in a week. So I basically was, to pull a curtain back, I was high on cannabis most of that shoot,
Wow.
that Air Indiana shoot. I don't know if I just ruined everybody's lives with that, but I looked a lot younger than what I was at the time. I maybe looked like a 10-year-old on that show. I was probably in high school or heading into it. So
I see. Okay. Yeah, because you definitely were playing a hippie character, talking about the man and the system. You wore tie-dye t-shirts. So you weren't really channeling any rock stars or celebrities. This was just,
no, I was smoking cannabis,
yep.
and I can say that now it's legal across the country, and I was an advocate for it for years. So, yeah, I'll admit it now. I probably wouldn't have said that even 2 years ago, but at this point, whatever. I got nothing to hide. I'm lucky I'm even 41.
And do you have any quick thoughts or memories?
They had me shirtless with a vine strapped to my belly for 2 days. That took 2 straight days to shoot.
That's a very
It might
quick
be
scene.
one of probably the worst experience I ever had on set, but not like physically or anything like that. Just from like the mundane 10-second spin around that I had to do for 48 hours type thing, right? So that's pretty much my only memory from there. The guys were great on set. I remember it was kind of like the Goosebumps environment again, where everybody was there, all kind of came from productions that they already knew each other.
Right.
So it was just like, hey, it's, we got the summer to kind of hang around and get paid to have some fun again with each other. And I found that a lot on sets here in Canada, is that everybody knew each other. And when you rolled into a commercial and you seen, oh my goodness, the second AD is this guy that I used to, everybody just had fun. You'd roll on the set and you'd be like, oh, hey, Mark, how are you? Oh, hi, Mark.
That's cool. Yeah, like a really fun, friendly, familial environment. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
To put a point on what you were saying, and maybe I'll ask this just so our host doesn't feel awkward if this was on his list.
No, this
I'll take the heat for you. I think all three of us got pretty lucky, didn't we? Not with success, but I mean, from the horror stories that you hear about what happens to a lot of kids on set, I don't feel like I'm a victim, and I'm not going to answer for you guys, but if you want to throw that around, do you have positive experiences about all of this or negative?
Only positive. I mean, my experience is limited, but with Real Kids, Real Adventures, there were some safety issues. There were some hypothermia issues. I got very sick in the 3 days that we shot, but it was also supportive. Like they wanted to make sure I was okay. They took care of me, and they didn't push. Everything that we did was because I said I'm okay with it. And I did feel that if I said no, they would have listened. So that's, you know, that's really the only thing for me that ever kind of came up, but memories now.
So for me, definitely Lucky. I had one experience, and it's funny. I had a little small role in the TV movie of Indictment McMartin Trial, which was, and it was actually directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh,
And it
geez.
was a trial about a guy who was falsely accused of, he worked in a preschool and he was falsely accused of molesting all of these kids when really there was
Jesus.
one kid who was molested and then parents, but there was this teacher named Harry Scary Dave, and I ended up working with him again in something else, but he was, I I'm not going to get into it, but it I don't like Harry Scary Dave.
Allegedly, he was a creep.
So no, and he like watched me pee, and then I like made a big fuss about like how I didn't want to be around him. And so then he ended up telling my mom as a way to like, I don't know, get power over me. Like I was like 7, right? My mom was still new. And he ended up telling my mom that Francis Ford Coppola said that I wasn't being professional. And so the last thing that I remember is my mom yelling at me and dragging me out, and him just like standing there watching me with this look like, see, don't mess with me.
Oof.
But compared to like what my friend Drake went through, and and I mean and uh oh, I'm blanking. Amanda, my friend Amanda, basically my mom made a rule that she did not want at that time, like she did not want me to be in Disney or Nickelodeon stuff, because at that time Disney was not really making kids that famous, but they did make you sign Nickelodeon too, these ironclad contracts where like basically like Disney and Nickelodeon like owned your soul. And that's why like if you were in like a Disney show, you were also, doing this music thing and that music thing. Um, but they were the worst. Like my friends who were in Disney or Nickelodeon stuff did not fare very well.
Yeah.
I actually asked, this was another thing that came up when I was talking to Amos Crawley, because now this is an outsider perspective. I'm in the US, and in the US there are a lot of horror stories, real life horror stories, not the fun ones, about child actors being brought up in this industry. And I was asking him, and he didn't really know what the root of it would be either. But it does appear to me that this is more common in the US film industry than the Canadian film industry. And I was wondering,
Mm,
do you know what the root cause of that difference is? Or Brady shaking, so maybe there is no difference?
no. No, I think there's just more work going on in the U.S. I think there's just more productions. This is rampant in everything, and I don't want to go negative on it, but it's rampant in every part of the world and every business that involves any sort of young person working with an adult. It just does. Thank goodness the internet and cell phones. And like I said, I'll go throw back to what I said before. There could have been some real. Thank goodness, and I hope everybody agrees. Canadians are so genuinely nice. 90% of Canadians here are just great people. I'm not saying anywhere other country they're not. I just know from my own personal experience. I think there was probably a lot of opportunities that didn't happen. And in my perspective, it didn't happen. My fellow friends here, but I think it happens everywhere. And I think it's because you see it more rampant in the States, is because, for one, there's more money involved. And every time there's more money involved, there's a lot of people come into that world that wouldn't normally be in that world, and they come in from the greed standpoint. And then the other end of it is that there's more productions. It's a per capita thing. So we got a lot of work in Toronto in the 90s here as kid actors, because all the productions were coming here because the locations were much cheaper than Hollywood, Detroit, New York, Vancouver. So they came to Toronto. So we had a lot more work at the time. About 10 years after we had all kind of fell into our own little lives, that wasn't the same thing for child actors in Toronto anymore. They all had to go back down to the States again, right, to get work. So I think it's a time and place thing. / we didn't have as many productions that go on in something like Hollywood. Like I don't think any of us turned into Corey Feldman. none of us sound like this when we're talking, right? Like, I don't think it hit the delusional state with me anyway. So, but I don't know. I don't mean to disagree, but I think it has to do with the numbers thing.
No, no,
So,
I want to know your opinions and your perspective.
So like I think that definitely there is that possibility. Like I think it definitely has happened. Um but I think that because I was just thinking about like Nickelodeon and Disney
Right.
and not just like because they're like Nickelodeon and Disney, but there was something about the way that it was run. So it was like they had these kids in these ironclad contracts where with morality clauses and a bunch of other stuff. So it was like contracts that sort of dictated like how they were supposed to be when they existed in the world anyway. And it was this very insular little community with the same writers and a lot of the same directors and a lot of the same kids. And I think it bred this, if you got one or two bad apples, it you would notice because it wasn't just like one director directing one thing and then moving on and different kids and different this, or one producer, it was both Disney and Nickelodeon had like different producers that just kind of like tried to control it too. And I really think that it was kind of that it's those environments, and Canada doesn't have something quite like that. And so while I do think that it's happened a lot more than I know, I think that it hasn't to the same degree because of that, because there hasn't been that same kind of like thing. Does that make sense?
Gabby, I think I just had a weird memory, and I think this is probably the first time I've thought about it in 20 years plus. Did we shoot a Fruit Roll-Ups commercial together? Did you
Maybe.
ever do the Fruit Roll-Ups factory commercial? Because
I
we had a
did.
creep on set there, and for
I
some reason, as
did.
you were talking, it literally just came back in my head.
I did.
So yeah, I
I
guess
knew
we
that
did have a few of them here.
I knew there was a third thing.
Yeah, we did a Fruit Roll-Ups factory commercial together. Yeah,
But
there
still,
was a
but
creep
it's
on
like,
set.
and it's like there's that one thing here and there, but like with Disney, with Nickelodeon, like there was a time where it was like years and it was under this one guy. And it was like these weird little cult like environments.
And it seems like it was built in such a way to
Keep any information from getting out. So when something bad
Yeah,
does happen, it's protected
it
in a
was.
way that it really shouldn't be. Right.
But side note, you know how like at a certain point, like with some of the Disney kids, especially because they had these morality clauses, but you would see like Hannah Montana did that like risky photo shoot, and
Yeah.
I think the blonde one did it too. It's to get out of the morality clause. A little
Oh,
bit of
they
insider,
wanted to get out.
you know.
Well, that's really
Then
interesting.
they ended
Yeah.
up
Makes sense.
doing, a whole bunch, but there was a time where, and it was usually like Vanity Fair, Rolling Stone, and it was like, okay, let's get me out of this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is super sweet. We started doing a Goosebumps reunion. Now we turn into a 60 seconds child actor
Right.
expose. I am so stoked.
Well, sorry about that, Brady. I love you.
No, I started it.
Now looking back, it's been almost 30 years since this episode aired. I mean, what are your general feelings about Goosebumps now? We're living in an age of like huge 90s nostalgia. It's really coming back. You're getting a lot of new fans coming out or old fans coming to you and expressing how much they loved you in these shows. What's that been like?
Well, so I would say, like, to go back to what you said, for the most part, yeah, I do consider myself lucky. Like, I have a lot of these memories that are like different than what other people have, but like fun memories of being a kid, but being a kid on set with other kid actors and doing kind of weird things that you would never really do. And Goosebumps was awesome. And Bradie, so when I saw Bradie again and Wind on My Back, I was 15. And Bradie, I was going through some stuff. You were a very important part of my 15-year-old life.
Oh,
And
thank you.
you were. Um, and so that and Goosebumps was where I met you. And so I will always think of you and think of you fondly. And remember that
Oh, thank
summer.
you.
That was a fun summer.
It was. It was.
Um,
I got to get punched out on for falling in love with you in the episode. That was cool.
it was fun. And I got to just like hang around with boys and it was fun. I was 15. It was very fun.
Well, I
Um,
might as well say it here before you go. I always had the biggest crush on you as a kid. It started on Goosebumps and went all the way through Wind at My Back. So it's nice to hear that we both meant a lot to each other as teenagers. So that's cool.
I totally didn't know that at all. I had a crush on you into my bag.
We could have been married and had kids by now. What the
Look at
heck?
that. It was really nice seeing you again, Scott.
You too. This is amazing. I never in a million years would have thought that this episode of Goosebumps would still be
Yeah.
around and that we'd have these kind of opportunities to be like, hey, 28 years later. Or,
Yeah,
oh my God, like it's a gift.
it is.
It really is. I truly thought it was something that would be like disappearing into the ether and I get my $2 royalty check each year.
Yep.
And then yeah, but no, it has this new life and I'm here for it. I think it's great.
And thank you for this was cool. When Brady sent me that Facebook message, I was like, what? Okay.
Yes, I'm so happy
We were able to all come together and talk about this very, very memorable, fun episode. And I'm also really, really happy to hear that your experiences, at least on this episode, working on this show, were very positive. You all enjoyed
They were
each other's
positive in
company.
general.
And also, I just want to say, just on behalf of 90s kids who grew up with this, thank you guys for doing that show. It's just, it's just so special to have these little memories growing up during that time. And when you revisit it later, you start to feel those same emotions again. And so it's just such a nice special time capsule that we're always able to tap back into whenever we need it as adults. And perhaps it's the same
Absolutely.
for you guys as well. This has been an episode of the 90s Kid Library Podcast. A special thanks to the Rallies for providing the music. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also learn about this episode and future episodes by following me, 90s Kid Library, on Instagram. Until then, this is Jared Goodman reminding you that you are all that and a bag of chips. Peace out.